Hello and welcome back to Fallout 76. Today we are going to be talking about defensive foods. And specifically what I'm talking about are foods that provide extra damage resistance, energy resistance, radiation resistance, disease resistance, extra health, and health regen. I will give options for both herbivore and carnivore. Before we get to the first recipe, I am at the White Spring right now, and this is Antoine. And he sells a lot of the recipes that I'll be talking about. You can see his inventory. He has quite a few things, but his inventory is not static. So depending on the server that you happen to be on, his recipe selection will be different. So if he sells a recipe or if it's listed as something he can sell and you're looking for it, he doesn't have it, just try another server. May take several servers, but yeah, he is the source for most of the recipes on the list today. So the first recipe we're looking at, this is actually for carnivore or herbivore. It's not actually affected by either one of the mutations. So even if you don't have herbivore or carnivore, this will give you the same benefit. It'll give you 20 disease resist for an hour. And this is a recipe that is available from Antoine. It's also something that you may find is at random recipe spawns around the map. And it takes 2 blood leaf, 1 ginseng root, 2 potatoes, 2 boiled water, and 1 wood. Obviously wood, boiled water, those are easy to get. Potatoes I'll actually talk about in the next recipe, but really all you need to do is find one because those can be planted in your camp. So once you find one, you plant it, grows back, pick it, and keep doing that same process until you have all the potatoes that you need. Now for blood leaf, what I like to do, I mean, pretty much anywhere there's water, you can find blood leaf. What I like to do, the wayward is right there. I like to start at the wayward and basically just go to the water, and you can see just right here, there's blood leaf right here. Blood leaf over there on the other side of the water. And that is flatwoods in that direction. Basically just head towards flatwood, just on the edge of the water on both sides. There's tons of blood leaf. And make sure whenever you're harvesting any kind of veggies that you have green thumb equipped because it'll give you twice as much. Now for ginseng root, you want to go to Dabney Homestead. Unfortunately, it is a workshop, so you can't fast travel there. The quickest way, at least what I think anyway, is Valley Galleria. And it's just a short walk up the hill. Probably KMAX Transmission is another spot, but you want to go to Dabney Homestead, and it's kind of right in the middle. Typically where the enemies spawn, you can find 5 plants here. So there's one right here. There is this one here, this one, that one, and this other one over here that's kind of hidden by the truck. Make sure you have green thumb equipped. There are other places to find ginseng, but this is the best spot that I know of. The next recipe is for health regeneration, and this is another one that is not affected by mutation, so it's good for carnivore and herbivore. Strange in numbers doesn't do anything, and what you get with this is 0.25% health regen for an hour. Now the rule on this is it doesn't work if you're in combat, and that includes caution. So if you're fighting something or if there's enemies around and you're in caution, this will not do anything at all. But once you're out of combat, you get that health tick, and it works out to about, I mean, I haven't actually timed it, but just eyeballing it, it looks like it's about 1 point of health per second, something like that. And this is a very easy one to make. It takes 1 sugar, 2 mute fruit, 2 potato, 2 boiled water, and 1 wood. Now the route I use for sugar, you can see this is the wayward right here. So in the same body of water where I'm farming the blood leaves, you head down until you're almost by Green County Lodge. And what you're looking for are snaptail reeds. So you can actually combine your farming blood leaves and sugar here. Snaptail reeds, it takes 2 of these to make 1 sugar. So if you have green thumb equipped, pick one of these, you've got a sugar. And they're all along the riverbank. So the route I like to follow, I basically just follow the water. I just run through the water all the way down towards, you see Vault-Tec Agricultural Center. And the water runs out about right there. But if you go around the bend, it's a dry riverbed, and go all the way to the flag right here, where the river meets the other river. And you can get a ton of snaptail reeds, and you'll get all the sugar that you'll ever need doing this route once in a while. Now, as far as mute fruit and potatoes go, I am right here in Flatwoods. I'm in the middle of town. There is the responders headquarters. There's a couple of mute fruit plants right here that you can use, and that'll get you going. Pick a couple of these, plant them in your camp, and you can start growing, replanting and growing as much as you need. And for taters, or potatoes rather, right here there's a couple, looks like 4 plants right here. You can see there's the tents over there with the ghouls. The red rocket is over there. So Flatwoods is actually a pretty good source for quite a few things. The next recipe we are going to look at is silt bean puree. Now this is a herbivore specific recipe, so it will give you 30 damage resistance for an hour, And if you have strange in numbers, if you're on a team with a mutated, another mutated character, and you have strange in numbers equipped, that goes up to 37 and a half. This is a recipe that can be available from Antoine or around the map at random recipe spawns. Sweet potato stew is the same thing. I don't think I mentioned that, but that's also an Antoine recipe. Silt bean puree gives you, it takes 2 silt bean, 2 potatoes, 1 spice, 2 boiled water, and 1 wood. So here we are in Flatwoods. There is the diner over there, and this is the church right here. And this is I mean, there are silt beans all over Flatwoods, but this is a concentration right here. There's 9 plants. They don't all necessarily spawn that they can be picked. This one you can see right there, it cannot be picked, but the others can. Now, Flatwoods has a few other things. So for the spices part, now there's just 1 spices here in Flatwoods. I'll show you another location in a minute, but there's spices right there. There's also a salt and pepper right here, which you want to grab because you will need salt and pepper for other things. It doesn't spawn in large quantities anywhere, so you kind of have to get used to just picking it up. And there's another spices right here. I think this can actually be a sugar. I know I've seen sugar on this table, so I think this is one of those random things. It could be a spices, it could be a sugar. But these will always be salt and pepper, and that spices over there will always be a spice. At least every time I've been here, it's been a spice. Now, one other thing about Flatwoods, it will be used for another recipe, not this one, but there are Brahmin all over Flatwoods, and if you need Brahmin milk, this is a good location to go. There are maybe half a dozen Brahmin scattered about. There's some over here, and then over closer to the lodge on the other side of the church, there's usually some wandering there as well. Now, for spices, we are at the Overseer's home. The thing I like about this is that it's inside of her house is instanced, so you don't have to worry about other players taking it before you get there. Now, we have a spot here. This can spawn a spice, and I haven't picked anything up for a long time, so to me, I think this means it's random whether it spawns or not, because I have seen a spice here. In fact, last time I was on a server, there was a spice right there. Even if there is no spice out there, it is still worth coming inside the house, though. It's still worth coming here because there is a spice right here on the shelf. There's another one here on the counter next to the bread box. And right here, I think it's either right here or on the other side of the shortening, this is another spot where it can spawn. So you can get up to 4 at the house, but I got kind of unlucky. The one outside didn't spawn, and this one on this shelf didn't spawn either. And usually there's a pumpkin pie as well. That's something we'll need later on down the road, but that's something you might want to pick up. And there's always a salt and pepper right here. Another spot for salt and pepper is inside the Wayward. That is another instanced area, which is why I like it. You don't have to worry about other players taking it before you get there. And there are actually a couple. There is salt and pepper right here on this table, salt and pepper right here on this table as well. The next recipe is glowing fungus puree, which will give you 70 energy resistance for an hour. If you have strange in numbers, that's 87 and a half resistance. This is another recipe that is available from Antoine, and it also can spawn randomly around the world. It takes 2 fire cap, 2 glowing fungus, 1 pepper, 2 boiled water, and 1 wood. We've already talked about a few places or a couple places to get pepper. Now for fire caps, I like to start from the Wayward. And they're kind of all over this whole area around here. There's some in here, and basically working your way kind of north all around in this area. They're scattered all about. But they can be kind of a pain to see. I would definitely recommend looking for them during the daytime. Eventually, when you farm this stuff enough, you'll kind of get used to spotting them, and you'll kind of know where they spawn. But there is an easy, now there's the Slocum's Joe right there, you can tell, because it's usually a war zone. But right here on this log, you can get, I don't think it's a guaranteed, but you can get up to 3 on this log. And over there across the river, on the other side of the river, you can see there is another log. And I know you can get more than one there as well. So this is a quick location. You can usually get a handful of them. And especially if you have Green Thumb equipped, you can get enough to get you started. Now for glowing fungus, the best location that I know of is actually at Nuka World on tour. And I'm actually inside the Tunnel of Love. So right inside the entrance, there's actually some plants right here in the planters that you can pick. And then farther in, there's more planters right here as we're still headed in. There's more planters there. Now here we have the final area with the wedding. There, you can see up there on the stage, there are planters over there. There's planters right here. And if you go up the scaffolding up top, there's more. So there's just a ton of glowing fungus. I think this is a really good location for that. The next recipe is glowing fungus soup, which gives you, and this is for radiation resistance. It gives you 4 rad resistance for 30 minutes. If you have strange in numbers, that jumps up to 50 rad resistance. This is learned automatically. As soon as you pick any kind of glowing fungus or any glowing fungus, you automatically learn this recipe, which is nice. It's also simple to make. It takes 1 glowing fungus, 1 boiled water, and 1 wood. And once again, inside of Tunnel of Love, best place to find glowing fungus. Now, the next recipe is a bit of a tricky one. It gives you, it's for maximum health or adding to your health, and it is Tato salad. The downside of this recipe is it is only available from Meat Week. It's actually a random reward at the end of Graham's Meat Cook. So basically 2 weeks a year is when you have a chance to get this. Now, it is tradable, so if you know another player that has it or you find it in another player vendor, you can get it that way. But most likely, you have to wait for Meat Week if you can't get this one. But I will give you an option. But this recipe is actually really easy to make. It's 1 Brahmin milk, 1 sugar, 1 Tato, 1 wood. We've actually talked about all the places to get all of those things. And it will give you an extra 60 health for 30 minutes. If you have strange in numbers, that goes up to 75. So it's a pretty decent benefit. Now, if you don't know the Tato salad recipe, the other option is pumpkin pie. It doesn't give you quite as much benefit, but it does last twice as long. It'll give you 40 health for an hour. It is not affected by strange in numbers. And it doesn't seem to be affected by the mutation. So I think this recipe can be used for carnivore or herbivore. I actually didn't test it on carnivore because I actually have another option that I like better. So this would be my herbivore option. And it takes 2 pumpkins, 2 Mirelurk eggs, 2 sugar, 2 boiled water, and 1 wood. Now, unlike the Tato salad recipe, the pumpkin pie recipe is very easy to get. You just start here right at the pumpkin house, and you actually go inside the pumpkin house, and the pumpkin pie recipe is a static spawn right here. Yeah, that robot likes to talk a lot. And there should be a pumpkin pie here on the table, and we actually got lucky. We got a second spawn right here. So not only do we get the recipe, we can actually find a couple of pumpkin pies ready to go. In addition to the recipe, pumpkins are all over the place. So this is actually a really good location for pumpkins. I'm just, behind the house right here. There's some right here. There's another like 3 plants or 2 plants right here behind the garage. There's pumpkins all over the place across the street. If you go that way, there's pumpkins all over the place. So this will give you the recipe. You have a chance to get a couple of pumpkin pies already made, and pumpkins are all over the place. Now for Mirelurk eggs. Honestly, one of the best sources I found for Mirelurk eggs is the event Swarm of Suitors, because at the end of that, you'll get 6 of them as a reward. So if this is a recipe that you want to make, I would definitely do that event every time it pops up. But the other location, at least location that I like, is Ohio River Adventures. And if we just go down here by the shore, you'll see there's a mute fruit plant for you. And there are Mirelurks here as well, which we'll need for another recipe. They do like to chase you around, so I would recommend shooting them. But we've got egg clutches right here, more clutches over there, and then there's a clutch here, a clutch there, and then on the other side of the building, there is there's the building over there, there's the boat, I'm on the other side, there's an egg clutch here, and one more over there by this guy. So you can get a few, usually it's about half the time you'll pick it, you'll get an egg, the other half you will get a baby Mirelurk spawn that will attack you. But this is your location for that. We've already talked about sugar. And there is the herbivore loadout. You can see there's my disease resist, 20%, energy resist of 75, rad resist of plus 40, damage resist plus 30, health regen plus 0.25%, and maximum health at plus 60. That is with Tato salad. And this is what it looks like with pumpkin pie, where I have plus 40 maximum HP, and that lasts an hour. Now we are on to the carnivore specific foods. First up is damage resistance. There are a couple of options here. I'll talk about the one that I would not choose first. So Scorched Beast Steak, which is very easy. It has an advantage of being very easy. As soon as you loot a Scorched Beast meat, you learn the recipe, and that's all it takes. 1 Scorched Beast meat, 1 wood. It gives you 30 damage resistance for an hour, or for 30 minutes rather. With strange in numbers, that goes up to 37.5. Now, the thing I don't like about this is that farming Scorched Beast meat can be rather hit and miss. Not all Scorched Beasts will drop meat. They may drop a brain or a lung or a liver. So getting the meat can be kind of finicky, and it only does last 30 minutes. The other option I like lasts longer, and that is Mirelurk jerky. This is a recipe that is available from Antoine. It's also something that you can find as a random spawn around the world. It gives you the same 30 damage resistance, the same effect from strange in numbers of 37.5, but it does last for 60 minutes. obviously for that benefit, it does take a little more to cook than just scorched beast meat. So this will take 2 Mirelurk meat, 2 blight, 2 salt, 2 boiled water, and 1 wood. Now, the biggest limiter on that one will probably be salt. But when you get in the habit of picking it up, pretty much anywhere that food is served, salt is kind of all over the place, but just in small quantities. But as you pick it up here and there, it probably accumulates rather quickly. So we'll look at blight first. And what I do for blight is I just fast travel to Welch, make sure you have Green Thumb equipped. And what you're going to do is just head south. And you can see we're not that far. Welch is still right there. This actually might be a little easier at night because it kind of glows a little bit, but this is what we're looking for, blight, and it attaches to, trees and logs. And if you just continue to head, well, not necessarily due south, kind of in this direction, but yeah, there's blight here, blight there, and also, hit the logs for wood. And it's all over the place here. That's where I was a minute ago, so I just kept going south. But you can see there's, looks like a couple over there. There's some right there. There's more over there, and I spotted some in the distance. Now I lost, way over there in the distance. So, and there's more. I mean, you could spend 5 minutes and you'll come away with maybe 40 blight if you have Green Thumb equipped. So it's easy to get a whole lot of that. Now, when you are farming meat, you want to make sure you have the Butcher's Bounty card equipped because it gives you an 80% chance to find extra meat. Now, for the Mirelurk part of this recipe, Ohio River Adventures, where we just were, that's obviously a good spot. There's a few there. And the Cranberry Bog actually has a few locations. Sunrise Field, there's a few Mirelurks there. Quarry X3, even though it doesn't have like the little swamp symbol, there are Mirelurks there, along with the Mirelurk Queen. Max Farm is another good location. I am actually right now at the Toxic Dry Lake Bed in the Toxic Valley. So this is the fast travel spot. So from here, there's usually 3 Mirelurks. There's one right there, there's one over there, and there's probably one hidden behind the truck. What I like about this location is there are other ingredients here. There's this house right here that can have, like there's sugar right here, and there's salt and pepper. So there's ingredients right there, which is nice. And if we go into the diner over here, which there'll be 2 or 3 ghouls, but since this is a diner, you want to check for other ingredients. So here at the back of the diner, there's some salt. I just saw there's salt on the table right here. There's some pepper on the counter. There's more salt. There's some sugar behind the counter. There's some spices right here. And there's a pumpkin pie sitting on the ledge. So this is a good spot for Mirelurks and just for ingredients in general. The next recipe is Rad Scorpion Kebab, and it gives you 70 energy resistance for an hour. With strange in numbers, that's 87.5. The downside of this recipe is that it is a random reward from the event Tunnel of Love. There's no other way to get it as far as I know, but it is tradable. So if another player gets it, they could trade it to you. You might find it in a player vendor. So it is possible to get it outside of the event, but that is your best option. And it takes 2 Rad Scorpion meat, 1 salt, and 3 wood. It's the only recipe that I know of, at least on my list, that takes more than 1 wood. But you can get the food other ways. So we have Betty here. She's right at the spawn point for Nuka World on tour. And if you look in her inventory, at least for sale, she always has 1. So you can get it that way. You could just server hop and buy 1 from her over and over again. It'll go through some caps, but you don't have to farm the materials. You don't have to worry about getting the plan. Also right here where she is behind her, there are usually a couple of sugar spawns if another player hasn't taken them. So this can be a good spot to get some sugar. In addition to buying 1 from Betty, right here by the entrance to Nuka World on tour, we got these food spawns right here, and this one is a Rad Scorpion Kebab. Now, this is part of your picked up items list, I believe. So if you pick this up, you'll have to refresh your list before it'll show up for you again, but this is free for the taking as well, assuming another player hasn't taken it. Now, for Rad Scorpion meat, there are a couple of spots that are pretty reliable. First one here is at Smith Farm, and you can see there is one right there on this side of the house, and there will be another one usually hiding on the other side of the house. Actually, no, he's on the other side of the little machine here. And then there's some across the way as well. I always forget about those, but yeah, usually at that house, it's unmarked. But over there's a couple of Rad Scorpions you can see wandering around. So the other location is Knife Edge. You can see here's Crater, so it's just west of Crater, and there are 3 Rad Scorpions that can spawn there. In addition, there's also a random recipe spawn as well. So those 2 locations should get you a decent chunk of Rad Scorpion meat. The next recipe is Bloatfly Loaf. It's available from Antoine as well, also random recipe spawns. And what it gives you is 60 rad resist for an hour. With Strange in Numbers, that's 75 rad resist, so it's actually pretty decent. It takes 2 bloatfly meat, 2 glowing fungus, 2 salt, 2 boiled water, 1 wood. We've already talked about where to find everything but the bloatfly meat. Now for bloatflies, there's actually a couple of events that'll spawn a decent amount. We have Tea Time, which is probably your best event for bloatflies. Also, Campfire Tales. That will give you bloatflies as well. So the best location for bloatflies that I know of in terms of spawns in the world is actually unmarked. I think it's a pretty well-known unmarked location because it's where people go for honeybees for the daily challenges. But the fast travel spot would be probably right here, Freddy's House of Scares. That's how I do it. And it's just north of this sunflower that's on the map. And you'll know you're in the right place. You'll see these vines and you'll see honeybees. There's usually a couple of honeybees here. And there's bloatflies all over the place. And I'm not all that stealthy, so I'm just going to go up here and get attacked. But you can see there's a couple of honeybees and there's a whole bunch of bloatflies. So this is a good spot. Again, make sure you have Butcher's Bounty equipped. But this would be my go-to spot for bloatflies. Next up, we have Bloodbug Steak, which is automatically learned upon picking up bloodbug meat. And it gives you 60 maximum health, or 75 with Strange in Numbers, and it lasts for 30 minutes. It's very simple, just takes bloodbug meat and 1 wood. Or 1 bloodbug meat and 1 wood. And I would do the same thing for bloodbugs, except for that unmarked location with the honeybees. Bloodbugs and bloatflies, kind of the same thing. Aaronholt Homestead, behind where the cranberries are. Usually quite a few bloodbugs there. Campfire Tales, I think, is probably the single best source of bloodbugs. You get so many there. Just do that event every time that pops up and you'll never run out of bloodbug meat. It also spawns at tea time as well. But you can see there's a bloatfly, there's bloodbugs, but same place, Aaronholt Homestead, there's bloodbugs over there. So there's a few. This is a good spot for them outside of those events. And there is our carnivore loadout. We've got 20% disease resistance, 60 rad resist, an extra 60 health, 30 damage resistance, 70 energy resistance, and we have that passive health regen of 0.25%. And there you have it, my list of foods for better defense. Hopefully you enjoyed this video. If you did, please hit one of the buttons down below, and I hope you'll join me in the next one. Thank you very much.